Busy, sounds like.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We will start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The board wants to provide ample opportunity for public comment on matters that come before us. Your input is important. If you wish to address an item already on the agenda, we ask that you do so when that item comes up for discussion. If you have a comment on a matter not on the agenda, this is the time during our meeting for such comments. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance that to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, a member of the public wishing to address the board during this time will not be allowed to make comments about any student, staff member, or member of the general public during this time. Does anyone wish to speak at this time? Okay. We've got some people missing tonight, a couple board members, and our superintendent is also online with us, but she'll still be doing her best to direct us from the online world. I will go ahead and start with the elementary building project and turn it over to Rich Whitney.
We had our progress meeting again today, and it continues to go well. We've had 10 pay apps. We get a pay app each month, and we processed number 10 last week. And you think about it, I think we have 7 more to go before we'll be moving students in and teaching class. So it's gone fast, and it's going to really accelerate at this point. We've got a good crew over there, and they're making a lot of progress. Every week we spend a little bit of time talking about, we went through the due diligence right away. We did our submittals. We got product ordered, and then we're just kind of in that sit and wait. But we go through what's come in, and we've got 1 air handler in. We expect to get the other 2 air handlers next month. So those things feel good. And then we talked about the freezer for the kitchen, where they can't get insulation for the freezer. And even though we got our name in the hat as early as possible, you just don't know. So we just talk about those things, and we develop a contingency plan, and we hope we never have to use it. So project's going well, and if there's any questions, be happy to answer questions about that. Otherwise, I'd move on and talk about our middle school and high school HVAC and the high school roof.
I was just going to ask about the windows. They were on kind of a back order, is that right?
They keep moving that date.
Windows are non-existent.
Right now, we're looking at February, if they don't move the date again. But that, I continue to give, Dick Anderson and the entire team credit, because we have had some things that haven't shown up on time, but they haven't delayed the project. They found ways to work around them and keep going. They put temp windows in so they could get heat going, and those guys on the inside are, you stepped in even last week or the week before when it was super cold, and they had a nice working environment. Those guys were tickled to be inside working on drywall and painting, and everything's still moving along, even with the few little hiccups we've had. And the entire team's done a great job of, looking ahead and making sure that progress can continue, even though we wait for some things. We haven't had a major stumbling block, and the project has continued. So.
Any other little hiccups that you might foresee? Any kind of delays? I'm just curious.
We would know it's going to be late. No, I mean, I'm one of those people who kind of always worry until it's actually there. But we also were very proactive about just getting those submittals approved, making sure that the vendors, the contractors got things ordered. We get a delivery date. Our superintendent, Doug's been in this in this game for a long time. And it was pretty telling to me because you look at the visqueen and the quality of the work that he did to put that visqueen up. And then he even cut sheets of insulation and put insulation in there because he's heard the windows not come in before. That's not just necessarily due to the pandemic. The window suppliers, but never had a school without windows either. But they always give you a date and it's pretty common. But he was prepared for that, and that's important because, you know, we have the contingency item for the temporary heat, and that is, you know, does a better job of keeping it clean and a good working environment. But we also worked really hard over Christmas to get all of the POs processed for the FF&E, and the vendors have already verified that they've got that material ordered. They haven't given us the delivery date for it. I think there's still one vendor we're waiting for verification on that. So we just cross our fingers on the FF&E as well. But there's nothing that's for sure going to be late.
Well, with the tech stuff, and I apologize for missing the meeting earlier, but with the tech stuff, where, you know, you guys are going to meet today, I think, about where we are with that.
We did meet. We talked about you know, because it's going to be over $80,000, they need to follow some additional legal advertisement, and then, you know, 2 weeks, 1 week apart, and then actually open that bid 5 to 12 days. That has a contract with some pre-approved items that you can buy off of, and I was going to research that. I expect it's still current. I've had districts that have used it in the past.
And does E-rate apply to that? Do we know?
Hmm?
E-rate?
Yeah,
It does apply to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, because the state will go through and pre-solicit items that public entities need to use a lot of. And then it's met all the legal requirements and the pricing's fixed. So if you look and it's competitive to what you feel like you could get through going through another bid package, you can just buy directly off of that.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure I followed up on that.
Yep.
And we do have Luke and I are both going to meet with the tech people actually next Thursday when they come down to go over all the layout, right?
So how we're going to transition and minimize the downtime when we go from the existing data closet to the new. And yeah, so.
Okay, so plan out all the cutover and the whole nine on that.
We're going to get all the smart people in one room, talk about the options and opportunities to do that.
All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would just add, you know, we approved that FF&E, you know, last month, but all those contracts were, you know, initiated and before the end of the year, because a lot of those bidders were worried about the price increases, you know, come the first of the year. And so all of those were executed, you know, very rapidly so that they could take full advantage of that. And so that's just another example of them getting it done when it needed to be done. And hopefully all that stuff comes in when it's supposed to. But there's still some few things up in the air that we don't have the answers to.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
And then just real briefly, the middle school HVAC project that the board has approved to fund out of bond premium. Those design documents are going to be available at the end of this week. And then we hope to advertise and then open bids on February 1st with the intention of bringing it back for board approval at your February board meeting. And then the high school will be 1 month after that. We'll open those bids on March 1st and then bring the high school HVAC to them. And that's an ESSER project, that's ESSER funded in for board approval in March. And then we also have the roof project with the insurance money where we bid it out earlier and didn't get competitive bid prices because of the labor shortage. So we've split it into 2 projects. We're going to have the library in the middle school piece that we're going to be bidding out here in the next couple of weeks. The bid opening will actually be on February 15th. So I think that's the same day of the board. We'll put it on the board agenda and have a discussion about it at that time. Everything's perfect. You can choose to award it if we need some time. We'll just see. We'll see what we got then. So I think that's the big items at least.
Okay, thanks, Rich.
If you
Susie, are you hearing things okay?
Yep, I can hear. Well, I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, good. Yeah, thank you for going over that, Rich. That I know there was a couple of people questioning that timeline on those bid processes and the mechanics packages. So thank you for covering that.
Okay, next we have the committee meeting reports. I guess I'll let Susie start with that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to note that we have had a couple committee meetings over the last couple of months. The facilities committee did meet to discuss some different issues we have and just some follow-up going on with the grant for the school playground in the past, and we are working through that. And then we also have been talking just over the phone mainly, and a couple different board members have come in and toured to look at the damage from the flood that we had on the weekend returning from holiday break. So everything's being handled, and of course Jim is amazing and on top of all of that. And we're both working together to talk to insurance company, our adjuster, and the restoration folks, and everything like that to make plans for what we need to do. And we are hoping to hold off until the summer, and then we're looking at redoing that hallway to make it match up from the middle school down, and a couple of classrooms that have been impacted from that water damage. So that will be challenging with all the other construction and gym floors and things that have to be done in the summer, but that is another item on our plates now. And Jim and I are working on that, and we've had support from the board and the facilities committee. So thank you for that. And then as far as the professional development and curriculum committee goes, Christina and I met with every grade level, K-5, to talk about the literacy adoption. That's the first goal on our new curriculum adoption calendar and plan. As you know, we set aside ESSER funds, and we need to work into our plans moving forward a way to sustain a curriculum budget so we can be on a regular curriculum adoption schedule. And we're starting with K-5 literacy, which the staff felt, it was time to do that, and knew that we needed a new program to move forward and try to increase our reading scores and kind of catch up with the times. And the staff before I came on board had been doing research on the science of reading and those kinds of things. So Christina and the staff had already begun heading in that direction before I came. And I am not a curriculum specialist, and that's not my degree, but I did help the school I was at previously work through a curriculum literacy adoption. So I have a little bit of experience, and I know some great colleagues in the state that are experts in the field of literacy. So we are excited to bring them back. They came this summer, and the staff seemed to really enjoy that. So on the professional development day on the 17th, we will have Strive reading experts come back to work with the staff on really making sure we're thinking thoroughly through the key critical components of how you select a curriculum to make sure it fits your community and your population. So we're going to look at data and look at the different curriculums. The staff has been piloting a few different curriculums and has had the opportunity to look at various curriculums that we had ordered in this summer. and we just want to make sure that we find the right fit. It is a really challenging process because it's hard to get consensus, especially 100% consensus, but we'll do our best to find a good fit. Whether that means doing a K2 program and then a 3rd through 8th grade program, or a K5, or how we split that out, we're not sure yet. So we are working hard to get through that and get that figured out. We want to ask them for their help when they come on the 17th to put a calendar together, because our hope is to have a new K5 literacy program in place when we start school next year in the new elementary school. So we want to take our time and be thorough, but we also need to make things happen and get this accomplished, because we know it's necessary. So I just want to thank Christina and the staff for all the time that they've put into communicating with these different companies and doing research on K5 literacy and looking into these curriculums. A lot of them have read all kinds of books and literature and articles and done a lot of their own research on their own time. So I appreciate everyone's time and effort so that we can do what's best for our students. And it is always hard to make a change, and there's a lot of different thoughts out there and a lot of different ways of doing things. So we'll try to find a way to make it work for our students and our staff, and select something that's important and gonna work well and be current and help with our reading scores for as long as possible. We also have taken a look, and Mrs. who we hired has spoken to every teacher in the district about their curriculum. And so we've kind of done an audit to see where we're at. Elementary music is definitely one that we haven't renewed in a long time. And our Mrs. Roloff, as you saw with the Christmas program this year, is a phenomenal music teacher. And she has an outdated curriculum. She'd like to renew that. So we definitely have some priorities, and we'll be putting together a calendar on how we're going to move forward on curriculum adoption. So that's going well. One thing that we heard a lot while we were talking to the teachers about the current state of literacy and curriculum adoption was also how important professional development is. And I know as administrators and all of us, that's just a really key part to making sure we're staying up in our field and we have the tools we need to do the best we can. So another thing that we did set aside with our ESSER funds was professional development money. So as I talked to that curriculum committee about and the administrative team, the thought is that we would keep some of that funding aside for whole group trainings with in-house and that kind of thing. But then also separate that money out so that we have a chunk of change that's enough funding for the staff to, over the next couple of years, select one major conference that may be out of state, like a national conference, or a couple of in-state conferences, and they would apply to the committee and ask for those funds and share how it would improve their professional development and their goals, help them to meet their goals. So we would like to solidify that and have a plan and an application to move forward with that at the next board meeting. So just want to highlight that. And then one other thing I want to say is just that we know the importance of transparency with curriculum, and anything that is narrowed down or selected as the one chosen by the team. Of course, it's really important for us that the staff are very involved in making this decision because they're the ones teaching the curriculum. So that's why we really want their involvement and their choice in this matter. And then we bring it to the board and the curriculum committee and then the board. And of course, we'll have the community involved and have multiple hearings on it to make sure we get public input and everyone in the community feels comfortable. And so we will go through that full process. So I just want to make sure the community and everyone understands that it'll be very transparent, and we will have the curriculum made available for everyone to review whenever we do adopt a new curriculum and have ample time for public input. So I think that's it, unless any of you have anything to add. Christina or Jason or Sean, you guys met with us in the committee meetings.
As far as from my perspective, I think we had a good meeting, and I think it moved forward, and I think a good framework and time frame was generally developed around that. So I around the process. So I feel positive about going forward.
Yeah, there was a lot of good dialogue, and had a good dialogue with some teachers beyond that too. And I think all of it is coming together and making the entire process helpful, especially from a board perspective.
Yeah, one of the next steps is definitely to have that leadership team that Mrs. Hartman works with, of staff that's involved in that curriculum selection and literacy, meet with the curriculum committee of the board, so the teachers have more dialogue with the board members. That's definitely a next step and a goal that the teachers requested, as well as the board members. So I think that'll be great. And just, like I said, being honest and open, it is challenging. It's hard to make change. It's hard to find something and get everyone to come to a consensus on it. It's hard to move from one model of teaching to another instructional model, even beyond just the curriculum change. So, and there's a lot of different opinions and a lot of different ways of doing things out there. So, I appreciate everyone trying to stay positive about it and be solution orientated. We are, welcome everyone's input and discussion, and think that, we just really have to work hard to hash it out. It's not an easy process, especially when we don't have an opportunity to do a real smooth transition. And it doesn't make it any easier that this year we can't mix our students and do some of those other things that we're used to doing. So we are doing our best and appreciate the board's support and everyone's help and time that they've put into it.
And thank you for allowing us to actively participate. There's one other thing I wanted to mention around that. I think Jason and I really feel like we want to really actively participate, as sort of a piece of this process. I think it's important if that's the case. And I pointed out several reasons in an email, but one thing I was thinking about as well, I think providing oversight, we need to be very familiar with curriculum, because in this overly hyper politicized world, we need to know what we're speaking to and what we're accepting and approving. So I think that's from that oversight position, I think that's vital to success. That's my spiel.
Either of you have anything to add? Okay. All right, we will move forward. We have Ms. Bersama and FCCLA student professional presentation.
Okay.
Take it away.
Hi, guys. So my name's Shay. I'm the Family and Consumer Sciences teacher here, as well as the FCCLA advisor. So FCCLA stands for Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, and it's the career and technical student organization within the Family and Consumer Sciences classroom. Throughout the year, our members develop skills through life through character development, creative and critical thinking, interpersonal communication, practical knowledge, and career preparation. And part of that is choosing a project to work on throughout the FCCLA year. And so Reese, I have her here with me today. Her project that she has chosen is professional presentation. So basically with this project, she chooses a topic within family and consumer sciences or an issue within family and consumer sciences and just develops a speech and a presentation on it. So part of that project is presenting it at least 3 times to 3 different groups of people. So she's presented to a couple of my classes, but I thought it would be a really great opportunity for her to come in and speak to our school board to give you guys a little bit of an idea about what we do in our organization and what we're doing to help our students develop. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Reese.
Welcome to Ellen's Diner. Here at Ellen's Diner, we emphasize the importance of dining in and connecting with the ones you love over a home-cooked meal. Today's special includes the importance of family mealtime, this topic's relationship to family and consumer sciences and FCCLA, and discussion on creative solutions to address the concern. My name is Reese Wolfgram. I'm a member of the Broadwater FCCLA chapter, and I will be your server today. Can I get you started with the facts? According to the Harvard Graduate School of Education, only about 30% of families regularly eat dinner together. While the number of meals shared by families who are financially well have gone up, the number of meals shared by families who are classified as low income have gone down. This can be attributed to additional stressors such as having to work extra jobs, having an unpredictable schedule, and not having enough access to healthy foods. Dr. Ann K. Fishel from the Family Dinner Project cites research from the past 20 years about the benefits of family mealtime. Sharing meals as a family has been proven to be beneficial for the spirit, brain, and the health of all family members included. In addition to this, relationships are very valuable in a family. What is taught when living together at home will stick with a child for the rest of their life. When a connection is not created as a child, it can affect relationship building skills in the future. Using family mealtime as a time to connect, talk, and make memories is a wonderful way for children to learn social skills. While families share meals, kids can also learn about food groups, nutrition, and sanitation practices. They can also learn how to serve themselves and how to take appropriate portions, leaving them with beneficial and healthy life skills that will guide them through life. Studies also indicate that for young children, dinner conversation is a stronger vocabulary booster than reading. Another reason my family mealtime is important is the abundance of stability that a child feels and gains when spending time with others they feel safe around. If the child knows that they are safe and secure, they will be more likely to open up or express themselves. A study that was done by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln shows that the stability created during family mealtime decreases the chances that a child will engage in activities such as smoking and drinking. The icing on the cake is that regular family mealtime also lowers the rates of obesity, eating disorders in children and adolescents. Taking advantage of family mealtime will provide a better sense of understanding about nutrition, develop useful social skills, and create a sense of security for everybody involved. For our main course, let's talk about the woman attributed to the home economics movement, also known as family and consumer sciences, Ellen Swallow-Richard. She saw the importance of family mealtime as well. Today, there is ample opportunity for the integration of family mealtime promotion within the family and consumer sciences classroom. This topic can be taught within culinary arts, nutrition and wellness, child development, family living, and many more classes. Some of the more fitting standards this topic falls under are within the family content area. Standard 6.1, analyze the effects of family as a system of individuals in society, as well as Standard 7.4, evaluate conditions affecting individuals and families within a variety of conditions. Within our student-led organization, the national programs Family First and Student Body are two areas that can focus on families sharing meals. And when it comes to career pathways within family and consumer sciences, family mealtime falls into hospitality and tourism and human services. Finally, I hope you left some room for dessert in the form of solutions. With a topic this important, it is up to my generation to create methods and techniques to address this ongoing issue. This year, in my own community, I decided to combat the issue of food access for low-income families by raising money for our local food pantry. I held a basket raffle at the first basketball game of the season and raised $350 for our local food pantry to buy essentials and food needed for the holidays for those in need in our community. In addition to holding a fundraiser, I also brought awareness to the importance of family mealtime by presenting to the nutrition and wellness classes on December 3rd, where we celebrated the 8th National Family and Consumer Sciences Day. We had an Ellen's Diner theme party and prepared diner-themed dishes like hamburgers and sweet potato fries. I provided each student with an information packet along with recipes for them to bring home to their family, encourage them to make these recipes and enjoy a meal or many together. As you can see, encouraging families to partake in family mealtime is the utmost importance to ensure proper child development and strong family relationships. Incorporating this topic into school, particularly in family and consumer sciences, raising awareness in the community, and combating the issue by helping to provide greater access to healthy foods for family in need will encourage all families to connect over this. Thank you for allowing me to present my professional presentation today.
You don't get off that. Anybody have any questions?
30%, that many?
It's that low.
It's, well, my experience is like 10. I don't know about anybody else, but that's just me, I guess. Well, thank you. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to quiz your student on some other things, if that's okay.
It's stressing me out now.
No, they're easy. We have a lot of different programs in our school. They're all important to different kids for different reasons. I thank you for coming and participating. It's good for the board to get acquainted with some of the ones that we don't on a regular basis. I would just like to ask you, why did you get into the FCCLA, and why do you think it's important to our school?
I got into FCCLA because I thought it was a good way to learn leadership skills and get together with others. And I think it's important for our school because although everybody learns leadership skills from different places, this is just a great way to interact with people and learn more.
I had two questions, but you kind of tackled them both. So. Thank you. Appreciate your time, and thanks for coming.
We appreciate your guys' time. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, FCCLA.
All right, Mrs. Hedlund, we're back to you with the grant awards.
Okay, so I did pass out a spreadsheet there. So I just wanted to talk about some of the grants that we're working on, and I will be working on this week. Kate Humphrey today, her and I were working on the ELC grant. That is the grant through DPHHS, in which we were awarded $45,000 to spend from December through June of this year. It pays for our COVID testing supplies, her salary to administer the COVID tests and take the training that are necessary for that. It also covers cleaning, supports, supplies, and costs for staff. So one of the things, as we talk about each of these grants, it's important to remember that it is, excellent every time we can receive additional funding to the school, but it is additional work that we're taking on as well to administer these grants, to make sure we're meeting all of the requirements, and puts a lot of work on Christy's plate as well as the clerk, because there are just more things for her to track budget wise and more budget codes and all those fun things. So I thank her for being positive as we have taken all of these on, and also all the staff that's helping me with them. Like I said, Kate and I worked on the ELC grant. We have our first budget reporting due this week, so we are putting that together. The other news is that a second edition of the ELC grant is currently open, and we had a meeting today with the coordinator of that and found out some kind of new ways that they're allowing you to expend ELC funds. So I'll be talking with the board about that and seeing if we want to apply for additional ELC COVID funds. We are also now in the first phase. We moved from testing symptomatic or those who request tests at the school to testing and mainly staff to testing students upon request, as well as screening staff and staff who choose to participate in the screening. So that means they're just randomly selected. A few staff here and there will receive a $20 gift card and participate in the screening program, which is part of the grant. And they just want to make sure that schools are doing that. It's completely optional, but it's just more testing data for the state to collect. So that is now going. We are not screening students at this time. So that's the update on that grant. We also applied for a new after-school program grant that came open. This is the ESSER after-school grant, not the 21st Century grant, which Townsend School District previously had. So it is a different kind of after-school grant. We were preliminarily awarded $52,846, which we had to complete an application and put in our need and our data and explain what kind of a program we have and who will be serving. And then they came back with this amount to offer us if we'd like to move forward with the next step of the application. So this is a great opportunity for us because we've been using general funds currently and a little bit the after school program that we have, which many families really value. So this would really help our school offset some of those costs. And Christina is working with this one on me. Mrs. Hartman spends a lot of her time on the after school program and summer programs. So she's helping me with this grant as we move forward. The next one is the targeted grant. So we had a couple of challenges with our special ed data in the past. And the way that schools are identified as targeted is a really complex formula, but it means that we had some challenges in one area. That's why it's called targeted. So our special ed was identified as being an area that we have some issues. And like I said, it's a really complex formula, and it can be just because there happen to be a couple of students move or drop out or something weird happens. So it doesn't mean that, anyone's done anything wrong or we don't have a great program, but we did qualify for some targeted support. So this will allow us to offer professional development to our special ed department and teachers. And they're always on top of it and want to stay current and welcome the opportunity support them in gaining that, as well as make some improvements to our targeted program. I don't know the award amount because it's optional to apply, kind of one of these competitive sort of ones. I think everyone is allotted a certain amount as long as they apply, but it would be around a minimum of $9,000. But if less schools apply for it, then we could receive further funding. So I don't have an exact amount yet, but I did submit that application. The same thing happened to us with the homeless grant. It was competitive to some regard. They started out with a base amount that our school was eligible for based on our data and our numbers of homeless students that we submitted. As you know, that was something that we worked hard on this fall, is putting Mrs. Howells into the homeless coordinator position, and she worked with Christina and I on that. We identified our homeless families. We also identified our foster care families and our military families, which helps us to receive these kinds of funds. So based on our numbers and our data that we had, we were eligible for $2,500, somewhere around there, which wasn't enough to have our own grant. So I reached out to White Sulphur, Steve Morgan there, and I spoke to Dan Rispens in East Helena and Mariah Pace at the Prickly Pear Co-op. And we were going to co-op our funds because we didn't have enough to do it independently. And then, so we sent in our application in that fashion. And then we were awarded $9,433 because just for our school, because not very many schools applied for those funds. And so we have enough funds now that we don't need to co-op. So we will have those in-house for to use, but we still do plan on co-oping with some professional development with East Helena and White Sulphur and some of our neighboring schools to bring in some professional development for staff on trauma-informed care, poverty, and some of those things. So the whole point of this grant is to support our families in need and make sure we're removing barriers for students. So make sure that we're covering fees for any kind of field trips or sports or materials that they may need, so they can participate in everything, and make sure that staff understand kind of where they're coming from and the different challenges that they might bring to school with them each day. So just wanted to give the board an update on all of those grants we have in the works. Of course, 2 of them, the ELC and after school, have big reports due this week. And I have a couple things to do in e-grants for targeted and homeless. So they do add additional work, like I said, and responsibility, but I think that they help the school district in the long run, and that's what that funding's there for. So I just wanted to give everyone an update on those.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, we will move on to the consent action items, minutes and warrants.
I had a couple of questions right quick, just, it all looks great. But a couple of quick questions. I see that Pine Cove, now, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe this is a question for Christy maybe. Pine Cove, or Joe maybe. Pine Cove jumped up to $2,000. I saw in the bills this year was 2,000, or on this claim it was 2,000 something for Pine Cove. And I think in the past it was 1,500. And I was just curious whether there was a raise in.
There's usually 2 claims. There were 3 this month. One, is it Rebecca? Is that the name of the
Ricotta. Yes,
Ricotta.
we had,
So we had some cameras or parts
So it was-
that go to the cameras
correct.
that we got a bill for this month, in addition to the other 2
Okay.
claims that we usually have.
Okay, because I noticed that was different. Usually it's like 1,300 or some such thing. Okay, that makes sense. Perfect. And then I was seeing Montana Internet. Now that is that our primary ISP?
Yes.
Okay, who's our secondary? CenturyLink?
We don't have a second.
We don't have a secondary.
No.
So we used to have, and you could tell me what it was for. Was it for the radio tower?
Correct.
We used to have some of that through CenturyLink,
Correct.
and then we have some of that bill moved over to Montana Internet.
Okay. And then that 1120 on the internet services, that's for the bandwidth, basically. That's the service.
I'm assuming I haven't seen the warrants there.
That's, it says internet services 1120.
Sounds right.
Well, but I guess my question is that
I
a
would
flat
have to
rate?
go
Is that
pull
based
the,
upon usage? What's that based upon?
it's a flat rate.
A
We
flat
get
rate,
some,
okay.
it comes at a higher price, but we get an E-rate. It reduces our bill.
Okay,
Mhm.
so it's
That-
flat rate, then, yeah.
And that may have changed from what you remember, Sean, just because we did take the radio tower off of CenturyLink and put it on Montana Internet, so it would go up.
Right, it's identified separately. though.
Yeah, it is, yeah, so. Is it now our primary ISP and how is it charged out? And so flat rate is how it's charged out. Okay, great, perfect, thank you. I move to approve the minutes and warrants as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes and warrants as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Action items. Approve the contract with Stoke for additional after-school enrichment opportunities. Susie, we do have some individuals from there. I don't know if you can see them or if you want to start or if you want me to have them start.
I'll just go ahead and say a few comments and then let them take it away.
Okay.
So I went to the Stoke board meeting last week, and we talked about the success of the programs that we started out with. We were excited to start a partnership with them and utilized our ESSER funds for that category of additional opportunities for learning outside of the school day and enrichment. And they hosted Snapology at the Stoke Lodge there. And it went well overall. We did have a really great, honest, open discussion about things that worked well and things didn't, and schedules. And they have Amanda Domino there, who is incredible at gathering data. So they have great information to share with you tonight. So I'll let them do that. But just wanted to say that it seemed to be a success. We had a lot of kids interested, and it's kind of a neat niche for some students that, you know, might not fit into some different groups or athletics, but want to be part of something and opportunity for them. And just all different kinds of students participated. So we're excited about that. And they wanted to do another session. So last time we did 3 sessions, and we had 2 for the younger ages and 1 for middle school. And this time it would be 1 for 3rd through 5th and 1 for middle school, and be 8 weeks. And the one program, you know, for the middle school kids sounded really exciting, Jedi robotics, and everyone loves Star Wars. So that should be really cool. And something that stuck out to me about it was that it involves coding, which I think is a really great skill for students to practice and get to learn computer coding. So I thought that it sounded like a great idea. And, you know, one more thing for the kids to do and keep them busy while we go through our deep freeze the next couple of months. Thought it'd be good to try another round of that if the board so chooses. So I'll let them share a little bit more with you about how the program has gone so far.
Thank you. Thank you, Susie. This is, I'm James Domino, President of the Stoke Board of Directors. And as Susie stated, we were very, very pleased with how the program went. We felt that it definitely did fulfill a need, we believe, and fulfilling our mission of helping kids learn. And we feel the kids actually had a lot of fun learning. And we do have some basic information about attendance that we wanted to share with you. And also do respectfully request that we would love to host 2 more sessions in the spring, beginning next month. So I'll let Amanda Domino, our board secretary, go over some of the data that we've collected.
Hi, I'm Amanda Domino, working on the Stoke board as well. And I just wanted to bring to you just some pretty basic data, really. I'd like to expand on this, working with the school district and Susie. I'll be able to expand on this to give you some more information about all the different students that we're reaching through this program. Susie's spoken a bit about the home groups of homeless kids, and there's your kids who aren't necessarily involved in sports or other things, and as well as the kids who are receiving special education opportunities, and we're excited to be able to host any of these kids that might be interested. For the program that we just had, we had 60 kids that were registered for the program and that came to the program. We had 45 from grades 3 through 5, and we were actually really excited that we had 15 from 6 through 8. We thought that was really great that they actually had the interest. And the average attendance per day was, we had it split into 3 groups of 20 in each group. And the average attendance for the 3 through 5, or the 3 through 8 total was about 16 students per day. Same for the 3 through 5. And I was really excited. Our group was 3 through 5 and 6 through 8. We had such an overwhelming request to be in the program. There were some 5th graders that we didn't want to say, no, you can't come. So we spoke to some parents, and we did include them in the 6 through 8 program. So that enabled them to be in the program. So in our 6th through 8th grade group, the average daily attendance was actually 17 kids a day. And for a program that we just started, we felt that was really great. We've not gotten surveys back yet because it's just finished. Tonight was our last night of the program. And so we've gotten just 2 surveys back so far from what we've sent out, but they were rated very highly. The parents were excited about it. They said they would recommend it to other people and that they'd like to see more of the program coming in. Again, that's 2 surveys, but we were pretty excited about that. So Susie already mentioned, the next two that we're proposing, which would be Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays would be those 3rd through 5th graders, and they would be building games and then coding using a tablet to make those games run. And in the 6th through 8, that Jedi robotics, they would actually be making robotic hands and things and doing coding to make the hand work. So they'd be learning about prosthetics and some different things like that, which would be really exciting. The parents were really excited about it. We invited them all the last day. We have quite a few of them. And the kids seem to want to come back. And they're really excited about the concept of doing a coding class. Something I'm not really familiar with, but the kids just seem really excited about it. So we hope that we can continue to move forward. And we appreciate working with the school. It's been great.
Anything else to add, Susie?
No, I don't think so.
Just so I'm clear, you probably said it, but these funds we will take from where?
This is ESSER funds that we wrote in for additional enrichment opportunities outside of the school day.
Okay.
Due to COVID learning loss opportunities.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Oh, I move to, move to approve the contract with Stoke for additional after-school enrichment opportunities.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract with Stoke for additional after-school enrichment opportunities. Any discussion?
I guess I do have a question. With what you guys are doing with 3 through, or 2 through 5th grade? Third through 5th, and then 6th through 8th. Will those courses, will that content scaffold up into anything for the next level, for instance? Into a high school, into a middle school, that environment, that kind of thing?
The Snapology program itself does not go through high school. It goes through age 14. However, that is definitely something that we would be open to and look for if we found a good program that went into the high school. 4-H has a good curriculum, and I know that they have had robotics before. So if we have the interest and instructors and everything else, I think we'd be totally open to doing that. Our main focus in Stoke is grades 6 through 12 for those kids who are not already involved in something within the school day or after school. So if there's a need or a desire, we're totally open to that.
When we were originally talking about all this, we kind of started at the high school level and found that we were just having a really hard time getting enough kids interested. So we kind of backtracked a little bit, and that's when we kind of rolled back to, well, let's look at maybe upper elementary and then middle school and see if we can't develop that and roll that into where we get those high school kids in there too. So yeah, I think definitely open to the possibility of filling that niche for those 9 through 12 kids as well. But it'll start with generating some interest overall, so.
I have some ideas as well for that age group. I would love to meet with you guys. I've been meaning to reach out, and I've been really busy myself. I'm Joe Gill. I'm one of the tech guys here at the school. Feel free to get a hold of me.
Okay.
I'd love to visit. We'll just ask.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just add, I do quite a bit of work with the 4-H kids too, and I've heard a lot of positive comments and kids that have been a part of that. So it's been a benefit, and there's definitely a lot of people appreciating, what you're doing. And I think we're off to a good start, and hopefully it continues. So, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for
Yeah,
taking the
thank
time
you.
to come in and be a part of that. It is a big help. Thank you.
I was just gonna interrupt just for a second. I was just gonna mention, as you scaffold up into those, middle school or high school, you also might take a look at Montana Space Grant. They also have a lot of
That's what he wants to talk about.
That's what you're talking about, MSGC? Okay.
Ah, you stole his.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Have a great day.
Curriculum stuff just ran across with you guys a couple weeks ago from MSGC.
All right, Susie, we will move on to the personnel department.
Okay, so under personnel, we currently have a position open for kitchen aid. We do not have a current kitchen aid position. We are missing one person from 8 to 2 each day. So just want to make sure we get that out there publicly. It's in the paper this week. It will be in the paper and it's posted on our website. So hoping to get that position filled. Our previous position, kitchen aide, Shaylee Chaplin's done a great job for us and moved into the after school position, as you know, and working as a para. So just need to move that around. And then we have a substitute that I recommend for hire. His name is Trey Owens, and he's currently a student teacher at the high school. So he is with Western, and he is eligible for a substitute. So if we could go ahead and hire him, that would be fantastic.
He's doing a great job. He just started literally like the 3rd of January, and he's already teaching several math classes. This is our Trey Owens that graduated from here, and so he's returning to the student teaching. He's doing fabulous.
Whose class?
He's with Ashman and Blagday, so he's both in the geometry classes and the algebra classes. And then I know he's gonna go spend some time with Gary Bowman too down in the junior high. So he's doing fantastic out of the gate. Very well.
So this is a regular sub, not a long-term sub.
Right.
Okay. I move to approve Trey Owens as a sub.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Trey Owens as a substitute teacher.
Does that mean that he pending background?
He would
Yes.
have that on.
He has that.
He's got it as a.
Yep, we have all of that. Yep.
That's what I thought.
Thanks for checking.
As a substitute teacher, any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion pass. Anything paraprofessional?
Nope.
We
We are still considering hire for a paraprofessional. So I need to get that posted again, but we have lost people. As I talked about, we had some shuffle into some different positions, which is exciting for staff. And then we've also had some new students come that need some support. So if anyone's interested in that, we will be posting the paraprofessional position again.
How many spots do we figure?
I'm still down one.
And we have some new students in the high school, so we'll see. We will get together, Christina and Sherry and I, and see what we can do with schedules. But 1 to 1.5, elementary and high school, and then middle school set, right, Brad?
Yeah, we're good.
Did we ever approve our new after-school program coordinator? Because I think she was hired after our last board meeting, right?
She was on the last board meeting. Christy and I double checked. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, is that any other personnel?
Nope.
Okay, very good. We will move into principals reports.
So first off, I just want to send a big thank you out to the Sheriff's Department, Townsend Ranger District. They came in and did their Santa Sheriff again and their elves, and it was phenomenal. It was so cool. They brought in, of course, their stuffed animals that have donated, and stickers and pencils and Frisbees, and they met with the whole K3 group. They did have to go classroom to classroom this time, so it's a little longer and a little warmer for Santa, but they made it work. So it was just really nice of them to do that. The reading program, as Susie mentioned earlier, we're still digging into that further. I have made a bunch of phone calls the last few days to kind of get a little more input on some other districts, especially districts that have some really high reading scores, to see if that can help direct us a little bit more. We are finding one of the programs that we're looking at is one of them that is making those scores really high. So hopefully that can help direct us as well, but also give us some schools that if we do choose to look at one of those, so we can actually go and visit and see it in action, because that's the biggest thing, is letting them see it in action, because the companies can tell you all kinds of stuff, but it doesn't give them the same picture. So doing a lot of digging into that and getting some interesting information as well. So meeting with Bozeman Superintendent on Thursday to talk to them a little bit more too about why they're dropping one and picking a different one and what they're looking at. So hopefully they'll help us get a better direction. Our COVID protocol and attendance has been much better. So really appreciate that everyone's working hard with, if their kids are sick, they're keeping them home and not taking chances. So I think that's helping a lot too. We're not seeing as many kids out. And then Susie talked about the after school program grant that we got. Looking forward to really utilizing that and helping out some families. We've been discussing on some ideas of what we can use with those funds. Maybe help families that can't afford it right now, that maybe those kids can attend it then, and then lower the cost for others. We also received today another grant for the after school program, $2,745 from the Broadwater Community Foundation. And so we can use that for the after school or the summer program. So really appreciative of that. The other thing we'd like to try and do is, one of the things that there's a lot of stipulations on the after school program grant, one of them is to increase the tutoring. And so looking at getting some high school students hired to come in and help tutor those students for a couple hours every day. So working on getting that going, work with Sherry on having them actually go through the whole process, have an application created for them, actually do interviews. So actually they'll give them some good practice too for a true job. And then having them work with some of the younger kids, maybe give them, I'm hoping it'll be more like a big brother, big sister kind of a setup too, that they can have that, someone they can look up to. And then we have our STEAM night coming up next Tuesday night. This year it is Art Around the World. So if you want to stop by anytime between 5 and 7, we did have 360 people RSVP. So we figured for 400 right now. We do have dinner that night, walking tacos, and the students will all receive a passport when they walk in the door with their picture. And as they go around to different countries, it will be stamped with the countries they visited and learn about what there are around the world. So stop in and take a look. It'll be chaos, I'm sure.
Organized chaos.
Organized chaos.
We do organize. And the other.
But looking forward to it.
I think we do them both.
Plenty of the other.
It's a lot of fun. It's fun watching the kids, especially the parents. I mean, it's neat because it's not just the kids, it's the parents getting involved too. That's part of it, the family night, and watching the parents get involved in it. And there's been a few times, things in the past that you walk in the rooms and the kids kind of sitting over the corner playing with something else, and the parents over there trying to build whatever they're working on. So it's kind of neat to see it.
I had a question around, just the reading stuff, the reading part. And it's something that I forgot to ask the other day, and I should have when we were meeting. How far? It's kind of a two-part question. How far are we behind? And it's a very general question. How far are we behind in K-5 reading overall? And the second part, if we are behind, what kinds of criteria, what kinds of applications, and what kinds of ways are you looking for, are you planning for to strategically catch up?
As far as the number goes, our data is not that great right now because of COVID.
No, that's the
We
maps.
lost
Is
them.
that from the map? Did I get that right?
MAPS is high school.
Maps is high school. What's, okay.
So elementary uses STAR.
I'm always wrong. STAR. Okay, got it.
And dibbles.
And nibbles.
Dibbles.
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 Dibbles. Dibbles.
Dibbles, but
Okay, got it. Star and dibbles, okay.
So our kindergarten kids, if we looked at them, we have 33 out of 63 students that are intensive, that are way below level. So that's a large number of students where we've never seen that high of a number.
And I understand why. I understand why.
Yeah.
No question, no issue
Yeah.
around that.
Say that again, please.
Out of our 63 kindergarten students, we have 33 that are intensive. So they're way below benchmark, way below benchmark.
And that benchmark was from pre-COVID?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, 2019 or whatever it would have been,
Correct.
I suppose.
Yeah.
2018.
So a lot of these students didn't get preschool or,
Okay.
whatever, they missed a lot of
Okay.
stuff the last year and a half or 2 years now.
Okay. And then how about, like first, second, third grades?
We have not quite that extreme, but we still have some high numbers of where it's intensive there too.
And what kinds of things are you going to look for in a reading program to help minimize or remove that gap and to move forward? What are some of
So
the
one of the
criteria?
things that we're really missing in the current program is phonics. We don't have that. And so that's one thing they really want the team that's looking at to make sure whatever we get has the phonics. But it has the other components as well that they're looking, comprehension and vocabulary, things like that. But it just doesn't have the phonics. So that's really important. We give kids that phonics back again. And then also we've started this year, but we don't have a strong tier 1 reading program. So we've got to find that strong tier 1. But we've also started our tier 2 and tier 3 interventions. So that's where we shrink down those numbers of kids. So in tier 2, there might be 6 or 8 kids in a group that they're working on skills, but then tier 3, there's only 2 or 3 kids. And so, really trying to work on those skills that they're missing. And so that's something we'll keep working on, building that MTSS model.
So tier 1 are most of the students who are
Tier 1's everyone.
everyone.
Everyone gets that instruction, and that's what we're lacking. We don't have a strong tier 1 instruction right now.
And then tier 2 and 3 are those that have more challenges.
Correct.
Okay.
They're way below benchmark.
Okay. And again, that benchmark is probably a 2018 or pre-COVID benchmark.
Probably, yes.
Okay. Thank you
But I
very
haven't
much.
seen anything updated as far as benchmark.
Right. And those were very general questions, and thank you very much for responding to those. Thank you.
One thing we did add this year that we brought to you guys, I remember discussing it with you guys, was Haggerty is phonemic awareness, which was a supplemental component that we did agree on. It was very inexpensive, but everyone that I have talked to that used it in the past was a big fan, and I saw it really work well last year. So the team did want to go ahead and get started with that to fill part of that gap that we have. So the staff are using Haggerty for phonemic awareness, and it's like a 10 to 15 minute mini lesson. You can watch them online to see what I'm talking about. Our staff are using Haggerty this year to try to fill that little bit of void. It was an inexpensive supplemental that we could put in place while we're trying to find that comprehensive tier 1 program. So that seems to be going well. The staff seems to enjoy using that.
All right, thank you.
I guess I got one question. I'll tread into it lightly. Because it was asked to me, we mentioned we're not moving those younger kids around into the groups.
Correct.
But the concern is, middle school and high school, since COVID and the changes we've made, we've allowed those kids to move around more. I'm encouraged by the numbers you mentioned, the COVID situation. So I guess the question is, do you still think we're doing the right thing for the situation that we're under here?
I do currently, until we see at least with this new variant, if things keep. I saw recently we only have 23 in the county, which is great. So our numbers stay that low, then we've talked about moving to where we can have kids start moving around. But in the beginning, it was the best decision because we weren't having to mask up an entire class or expose it. Because without all that movement, there is just to try and contact trace, those kids just, I mean, they hang over each other. So, you know, we'd have to either send a whole class home, a whole kindergarten class, or mask the entire class up. And then we have a lot more students who then, for various reasons, don't want to be in mass or whatever. So then we have a lot more remote learning, and the less remote learning, I think, the better. So we had smaller groups of people remote learning versus, I think we could have a lot more going the other direction.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, Mr. Rock.
Last month, I talked about our behavior code field trip. The update on that is that we've, after sending, surveying the students and getting some feedback from them, we will, well, first, if you recall, one of the issues was the number that the Rock Climbing Center could accommodate for us. We have a small enough number. We have a very small number going. It does meet the criteria of the place. I felt like it was important to go ahead and take that group to the rock climbing place that opted out of the skiing. We are in a position where we can't really allow kids to change their mind at this point because we'll be over those numbers, but we will be able to do both, and we're excited about it. We're excited about getting that behavior code field trip back this year. I think it's an important incentive for students. I think it's a great opportunity for them to learn some skills outside of the regular classroom. And it's a lot of fun. So one of the issues that I've been dealing with, I think as a school, middle school we've been dealing with is chronic absenteeism. And I'm not talking about, I want to be 100% clear that I am completely on board with parents keeping their kids home when they're sick, and I hope they will continue to always err on the side of caution, whether COVID continues to be a thing in years to come or not. I hope that's a trend, that's a positive trend. But one of the things we see is that we are seeing an increasing number of students that miss a lot of school for non-health related things. And then some of them have a lot of different reasons, from, you know, mental health needs to family situations to sickness. And those are different, but ones that just consistently and chronically are gone from school for no type of health related reason. And it's, you know, and I have never been opposed to parents that take their children out for, you know, a little bit of extend a few days for a vacation that fits the family's needs or some opportunities for families outside of school. But it really puts a strain on a lot of different things. I don't know if people realize the issues that come with chronic absenteeism as far as hard on students. Almost, in fact, I tell students on the first day of school, it is really, really difficult to fail or do poorly if you are consistently at school. It just is. And it is really hard to do well when you're consistently gone, because there has to be some, I mean, if a student can just get things sent home and do them and it's as good as being here, then we're wasting a lot of money with what we're doing here at school. And it also puts a lot of strain on teachers to try to get students caught up. And it puts a lot of, what I see is I'm in and out of classrooms is it takes a lot away from the students that are there consistently. Because those teachers frequently have to go back, reteach concepts for students, take time out to kind of catch them up. And it's just a snowball effect. And I just wish, you know, we don't have a lot of teeth or a lot of things we can do right now, especially in our current health crisis that we're in. Because there's no way to verify if a student feels good or doesn't. But it's something that went, you know, prior to the pandemic was a concern. It's something we've always dealt with. But I think some of the current situation and the concept of the remote learning and all those kind of things really opened up the door to kind of exacerbate this problem. And it's something we spend a lot of time on. And again, I'm not talking about those ones that are out sick. You know, right now, unfortunately, we're in a situation where we're having kids missing 3, 4, 5, 6 days or more in a row for legitimate health reasons. But it's those ones that every week are 2, 3 days out. We have students that are missing 30, 40% or more, you know, without a very legitimate reason. So
Same in high school.
it's frustrating.
It's a trend.
And it's something that we try to deal with, and we do our best to keep those kids up to date and make education good for them. And we're more than willing to work with parents, with teachers, and everybody. But you get to a point where you question whether or not they're getting what they need out of school. And, so yeah, that's just something I think as we go on, and we need to, you know, we're gonna, it's something that's gonna always be an issue in schools, I think, but we need to, hopefully, as the health situation improves at some point, then we can work with those parents in a little more consistent way. Looking back at our semester, we're right at the halfway point of the year. It ends on Friday. I would say, from my vantage point, just some feedback for you. I don't know if teachers would necessarily agree in the middle school, but I can tell you that it's been a very good move, the administrative reassignments we made for this year. My feeling is, in my experience with the group that we have currently in middle school, now that I'm back there full time, I'm seeing a lot of the things, you know, I think some impact of things I didn't do over the last few years, you know, and I'm able to do a lot more proactive things and be with some students that really need a little extra attention for various reasons. And I'm able to just communicate more with the teachers in a way better way than I did in the past. Again, whether or not they agree that that's a good thing or not, I don't know, but I feel like it's been a very positive move. And I know for me and the work that I feel like I'm doing has been good. So I know some people have asked kind of how's it going? It's been good. For me, it has. And I think for the middle school students, it has been a positive thing. And then another thing we've been dealing with here at the school is a lot of transition in the office. I know it's been mentioned, and you know, the hiring and resignations and retirements. You know, Hannah left as their family grew, and she did a good job here. We hated to see her go. And then recently, Polly Robertson retired, which was a big loss. She's worked here, you know, for longer than I have, and you kind of get to a thing where you're, you know, with Lori having been here for years, and then Christy taking over for her, you get, you really work closely with those people in the office. And Lori Raines has been back doing a lot of subbing and training, and is really, you know, there's not a lot of benefit, I don't think, financially for her to do it when you look at the situation that she's in, and just really appreciate the things that she's done to help keep things rolling here as we've had that transition. The same with Laura Frazier, who's been working here for a long time. They've really picked things up. And then, you know, our new people, we have Allison and Nicole down there, and they're working really hard to try to keep things going. You know, when you train down there, all those necessities that happen and don't come to a halt while you try to learn something new, the train keeps on rolling, and they've been really good. And I've had some very positive feedback from people that was, you know, in the public that has stopped in and had very positive interactions with those people. So I hope that things are working out for them. I don't always get down on that end as much as I'd like to visit with them, but they've really done a good job and have really tried to keep things rolling as they learn an entire new job. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is the science fair, which is a really big deal in the middle school, and I think a really positive thing for our community. The latest that I'm aware of is there will be no regional science fair. Butte, Montana Tech has always hosted that. That's a concern for a couple of reasons. One, it provides a really good incentive. It's a really cool trip for the kids to advance from here to the regional science fair. And it's a great experience for them. And, you know, we talk a lot about real life experiences and things that kids do. And I think being able to present something that you've put a lot of work into to adults is a skill that's often lacking in school, and this is a great thing for them. You know, not only our school one, but the regional and state. I visited with the science teachers, and we talked, it lasted about 2 minutes where we considered, man, what can we do to maybe do a regional, or at least one with some local schools, and then we quickly came to our senses. And I think those teachers would be game for it. I mean, those two, you know, Anna Shear and Janelle Robichon could organize about anything, but we have a very difficult time just getting enough judges for our own, and it would be hard. They are going to do the state one, and so students can still advance to state from our local one. And you know, our schools fared really well over the years at state. So it's kind of disappointing because that's a great opportunity for students, but we plan on doing our local one the same way we always have. You guys will probably all get called to judge. And we really, I can't emphasize enough how much we appreciate the people that give up their time to come judge, because it's a good deal for kids, and it's a big deal in the middle school. We dedicate a lot of time and effort. Parents do, kids do. So anybody that helps out, we appreciate it. So I think our teachers are still exploring the possibility of maybe, is there another thing they could do in place of the regional, you know, go to another, I don't know where they stand on that, but we'll look for something.
When is the science fair?
Our local one is, it's February. It's about the week of district tournaments. I can look on my calendar real
I
quickly.
think we already have it on there too.
Yeah, it's,
I'm trying to remember.
so I should know that before I present a big thing on that. February 15th, so the local science fair is. And we schedule it that way. So here's another thing that happens with no regional. And the reason it wasn't necessarily COVID that they got rid of it. I think they didn't do it last year. We tried to do a virtual one, and it was really tough. It required so much work by the students and the teachers to organize it. But we schedule it February 15th because then it's a kind of a nice, they have time to get things in order for the regional, and then state is a little while after. Now we'll have a really big break between when they present here and when they move on to state. So we'll see how we can kind of bridge that gap a little bit, but it's, you know, it's every student in the middle school participates, and it's kind of a big deal for the community too. We see the number of people. So we're going to keep ours going, and hopefully something kind of turns out for the regional.
I'm on my 12th of 12, and I'm ready to be. I will be. It is a good thing, but I'll be glad when I'm no longer.
That's a lot of years, Jason.
You've done a lot of science projects.
Done a lot of science projects.
Did you just say you're qualified to host regional?
I think what he's saying is he has 12 science fair projects ready to go if any parents want.
We debated long and hard about starting to recycle. We debated long enough. I couldn't possibly remember.
Unfortunately, it's the same teachers, and they don't forget anything.
But no, it's a great thing, and well, the regional and state, those are great things too. So that is unfortunate.
And I truly think the biggest benefit, the whole scientific process thing is really important for them to learn that, but being able to convey ideas to a group of adults is a pretty rare opportunity for kids at that age. So it's really good.
Now, the worst thing is by the time you get to number 12, trying to think of a good project. They're starting to stretch my weak mind. they did good.
I had a question regarding the chronic absenteeism piece. And just, I don't know, just some thinking out loud, just some thoughts, the question that comes to my mind is, how do you change it? And it seems in my mind, and of course, this, an educator, career educator, is the issue motivation? Is it the issue engagement? Then the motivation that creates engagement? Is the issue, maybe is it time to think about, some kind of more active learning, changing the pedagogy in some way to actually create more engagement, to actually make it fun and motivating for students? And MTSB has been big on personalized learning, and I know that their idea around that's not quite the same as what you and I would probably think about as personalized learning. But is it time to consider or to at least think out loud about various different pedagogies that actually increase engagement by motivating students?
So I guess the challenge I would give any one of you is to come in and visit some classrooms and see, and I just think you'd have a hard time after seeing that, go, wow, there's not some pretty engaging, pretty personalized, pretty incredible stuff going on here. And I agree, and I know you're not saying that we're not, but I think that's something that we have as a school really worked hard to do, to make school engaging and to make it something that students want to be there. And there's, and going back to the chronic absenteeism, there is a lot. One thing you'll hear, everybody, a lot of times my kid's bored. Well, that's a word I take issue with, because you can come up with 100 solutions to not make them bored, but then it becomes it's hard. Or, wow, my child is too challenged there's a lot of things, and I think every case is different as to why they're missing school. Some of it, to be honest, there's some that falls on parents. That is probably not the kid's decision to miss that much. There's others that it is the student's choice to do it, and parents, allow it. And again, I don't want to be misconstrued that I have no issue with students that have, medical issues or mental health issues or anything, and we will work with them all the time.
That's a whole other issue.
Ones that aren't at school, and it's something that I think at every grade is an issue and has been as long as I've been in education. I think it's just just the way schools have been over the last 3 years has become easier to not. Let's go.
But I wonder, do you think in the things that we've done because of COVID, especially the first year, it seems like we probably made some exceptions to keep kids where they needed to be in terms of grades or books, maybe even graduation. But do you think we created part of the problem and made people think, well, obviously coming to school is not as important as we used to think it was?
Yes, I do. I think part of it, I get that a lot, that, I get parents that go, well, are you doing remote learning? My kid did way better in remote learning. Well, first of all, it was easier. There's no, and I think they did see that their students, I want to be careful what I say, because it is different for everybody. And I don't want anybody that might be watching that's one of these that I have worked with and have very legitimate reasons for why it's difficult for them to be at school. I feel badly for those people, but there's some that, I've had kids miss because, man, they got a big, I've had a conversation with a parent that a kid missed, was not going to be at school because they had a real busy weekend coming up and they didn't want to be too worn out for the weekend.
Priorities.
I don't know what to say. As much as you say, and I think here's another thing that happens. I think this is one of the biggest things that happens is for some students, school is difficult. It is. You know, they have to work hard. As much as we try to put things in place that make school, that level the playing field and make it accessible, you know, everything equally accessible, and all those things we do, and we have great things. I think sometimes it's, or students that may have some, you know, a lot of times it can be friend conflict, things like that, so they miss school. Well, when you come back from missing a day of school, and I'm sure it's probably the same for anybody that has a job, it's gee, I'm really busy the day I come back, and then you miss another day because that wasn't very pleasant, having to come back and get caught up, and it snowballs, and pretty soon, the stress of having to come back and deal with all that is really, you know, a reason that kids start to avoid it, and then they do. I mean, I know in talking to parents, and then sometimes kids do develop physical symptoms because they every time they come back to school, it's, man, you got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, and it's it really, it gets to be a vicious cycle for students that are chronically absent.
And some of us might need some mental health assistance.
And that's a whole different thing.
It is.
We do deal with some students that need some assistance in that area. And we're more than happy to deal with those students. And we've had some parents that have had to make some really tough decisions, and I feel bad for them because, you know, they're trying to do what's best for their student, and it's not anything. And those students or parents have said, you know, it's nothing, there's things going on that we're dealing with. That's understandable.
You know, and I bring that up, and I think that's important because you brought it up. It's on the list, the chronic absenteeism, and that leads to dropouts, and of course a marginal life for that particular individual. And we hear so much talk locally, nationally, statewide, and nationally around the education system is failing our students. Well, how you know, I don't know if there's a solution, but you know, if we can do something, I mean, it seems like so we're the place to do it.
You're exactly right, and there's a formula that's used that assigns a score. Our school was a part of it, and I don't know that we are anymore, where we got information monthly where they kind of assigned a dropout risk to students, and the number one thing they put in there was absenteeism. Yeah. And I think it's pretty easy to connect the dots between a high absence rate, lower grades, more mental health issues for those students, and then all of that leads to, when they get into high school, a higher risk of dropout. And it's, you know, I think anybody that works in education would tell you that the most important thing to keep students on track is attendance. Yeah. You know.
Oh, I agree. You were spot on. I agree. If you just go to school, you'll be okay.
I think also, Jason, you gotta, you know, one thing is what's happened in the last couple of years. There's things that have changed too. You have a lot of parents that are also remote working now. So that's changed a lot of things in the last couple of years. And then the things we, you know, the remote learning that was offered to a lot of students. Well, since I started here, I was always running the homeschool documentation. We've been averaging 20-25 kids for homeschool. We're up to 79 that are homeschooled now on that list. I mean, that's a huge difference from, I mean, this is my 6th year here, so that number keeps increasing.
Say those numbers again.
We were between 20-25 average for the first 5 years I was here. Now we're at 79 students.
So that would have been probably the 2018, 2015 to 2018.
2016, 2018, 2019. 2019 actually, because it didn't start till after that.
Okay.
So it's, yeah, that's a huge difference that we're seeing more kids, and we just had one yesterday go homeschool again. So we're seeing that more and more.
And again, a few of those do that for a reason. You know, some of those, you know, the students that need some things that, you know, parents transition to homeschool so that they can address some needs. And that's, you know, and I tell those parents, great, you know, obviously I'm a public school employee, I like to promote public schools, but for some students, it is, a distance for some families is the right thing. But I think the pandemic, over the course of the last few years, has opened some avenues for people to gain experience homeschooling. It's easier now than it was. There's just a lot more out there to do. And I think that's one of the reasons the homeschool numbers are high. And I think a lot of that is, I think a lot of this problem is exacerbated by what we went through during the shutdown.
So I just want to jump in a little bit on that too. Some of the families, definitely, like you guys said, didn't come back from closure or remote learning, or a couple of them have, tried coming back and decided not to, or like Brad said, have various reasons. And yeah, there is a lot of programs out there now that they can sign up on, and there are a lot more parents at home now. So all those things impact that. But there's also quite a few new families in our county that that I know have moved in from out of state that have never enrolled in Townsend Public Schools and are homeschooling. So I do think that it'll be worth our while to do a little bit of PR, especially next year, hoping that, things are a little bit more back to normal and we're in the new school and those kinds of things, and making sure that we're welcoming those families in to see what school looks like in our Townsend Public School system. I know I did that. There was a large, kind of strangely large pockets of homeschool groups around the state. And so I looked at that data when I was in Livingston and did some work to reach out to our surrounding communities, and was able to bring some people in and show them kind of how education looks different maybe than what it looked like in Chicago or wherever they were coming from, and those kinds of things, and get those families excited about trying out public school. So I think that's something that we should take a look at maybe next year too, trying to make sure that they know that they're welcome to come visit and have a tour and check out our programs and the awesome technology, and just such nice group of kids we have in Townsend, and we might get some of those families back, I think, in the future.
Well, thank you everybody for that conversation.
I'm going to start with the Principals Advisory Board. I meet with them once a month. We've been a great group of kids. I so look forward to our monthly meetings and the things that we discuss and the plans that we have. We met Monday. They're definitely rolling out their idea and proposal for the Big Dog, Little Dog buddy reading program we want to do during advisory on Friday. So we're very excited about that. Kind of dug into some of the nuts and bolts this Monday. They're looking at pairing high school students with the K-4 classrooms, volunteer basis, obviously, for high school kids that would like to do that on those Friday advisories that are a little hard for us to negotiate with some other things because they're shorter and on Fridays, and a lot of times we're missing a lot of our high school student body on Fridays as well for activities. So they're very excited about that. We've also been working pretty closely. I was gonna say, some kids are gonna round up Christina and meet with her. She doesn't know this yet. So there, it'll still be a surprise. We've also been working with student council on a couple of different things, kind of combining forces. Some of those kids are crossover kids that are in student council and the advisory board, so it works out really well. And then we have some other kids that kind of join because on the outside of that as well. We are looking at bringing sub-assemblies back to the school. The students really want to have Buckle Up Blue for Lauren come back, Pat Goldhand and his program about the safe driving. We've had some issues, thank goodness, we haven't had any major accidents or anything like that, but they themselves are expressing they're starting to see that kind of escalate and back up, wearing your seatbelts, driving safely around town, just being better at being more careful and safe drivers and and those kinds of things. He does such a great job with that. So we haven't had him here for quite a while. I think the seniors were 8th graders the last time he was here. So they felt like that might be a good time for them to come back. Also, they love Value Up Mike. They call him the shoe guy. He does a lot, great assemblies. He bonds with the kids. The youth council's had him come a couple of times. Tells a lot of stories about, having empathy and being kind to people that have struggles and dealing with students' mental health issues, and some borders on the suicide prevention things about, accepting, being tolerant and having acceptance of kids of everybody. We're all different, and those things that we're all important, we all matter, and we're all different, and embracing those differences and celebrating those differences between people in kind, empathetic ways. So he's really great. So we're going to look at trying to maybe bring both of those presenters back in. We hosted the Region 3 Principals meeting today through the Montana Association of Secondary School Principals. Hosted it here with our ADs like we do every year in January. We kind of looked at, there were 9 MHSA proposals. These are things that we kind of look at that they're going to vote on and discuss next Monday when they meet for the big MHSA meeting the 17th in Butte. John Odell will be going to that as our AD. Really, the proposals mostly centered around, there was really nothing earth-shattering. We're just seeing trends, a lot of them centered around several about bringing 8th graders up. I think Class C schools and some Class B school, everybody's having a hard time fielding competitive teams, like all the teams for competitive programs. We know we've been shorthanded in some of those areas, and a lot of the smaller schools like the Class C's are really struggling with that. So they're just trying to find creative avenues and ways to do that without impacting those junior high kids and programs and some might be well, there is a process in place where you can petition to bring up 8th graders if you're trying to field a program. Of course, some of the downsides or the cons against that are, are we going to destroy our junior high programs doing that? How do you handle a student that plays as an 8th grader through a senior year? Is that fair when they get to be up to that senior level? There were a lot of conversations back and forth about what that looks like. And I've, definitely been on at least the Class C side of that, where it is really hard to even field a varsity. Some of these programs are having to waiver to bring up an 8th grader so they can have a varsity team to compete. So, again, like you were saying, John, about the educational side of it, it's digging deeper and looking at what is going on. Why are we losing so many kids participate? Is it a COVID thing, another COVID thing where they got so disconnected from their activities and their regular routine that it had an impact? We're going to see a lot of those interesting things, I think, in all facets of our educational system. Most of the other ones, borderlined on just transfer rules, recruiting, making things fair across the board. It sounds like this might be a bigger problem than I ever imagined it was. A lot of these proposals, some of them were a kid has to be 365 days, a whole year. And, obviously the argument for a lot of folks and the way we view it is that, these programs are designed to be good for students and be in the best interest of kids to give them really positive activities and things to do. Are we going to cut a quarter of a kid's high school experience out because of a family situation or a parent situation, or, we're worried about, somebody recruiting? They talked about, was one of the proposals was with foreign exchange students that they couldn't, it was a varsity level, obviously, but they couldn't compete at all because it had to be a year out. Well, foreign exchange students aren't here that long. So we felt like some of that was a little extreme on that end. Right now it stands at the 90 days unless everybody has moved as a family, and, there are waivers and situations and avenues to get those things waived if there are certain special circumstances. So yeah, that was a busy day today. Just kind of the region, all schools are going through the same things. We're all seeing the same things. We're struggling with filling positions. Bus driver shortages are huge. The paraprofessional shortages, those, classified staff are tough. Those are, everybody's just trying to compete and build a bigger base to be able to fill a lot of those positions. So we're all struggling with a lot of the same things, and they're all seeing the same things we're just talking about here: decreased attendance, drop, kids leaving high school and dropping out, not finishing their 4 years of high school, and just, so I guess the message is, we're all in this together. It's certainly not just a problem here in Townsend or a problem in Manhattan or a problem anywhere else. We're all struggling with a lot of the same things and trying to come up with good solutions for that. So one of my favorite things about that group is that we do get to have that camaraderie and that resource of each other to help field ideas and how we can help each other out. So yeah, it's a great professional building avenue as well. The January, 21st field trip is still a work in progress. We have been making a ton of calls trying to figure out what we're going to do with the high school that day since we have our wrestling tournament here. We, sorry about that. We so far have a few things on board. The museum's an available option to us, the whole heritage museum and everything downtown, the Capitol. Everybody is doing self-guided stuff. Nobody's guiding tours because of COVID and those issues. But those are options. We are planning on just having the kids take grab and go lunches. I also, just before this meeting, heard back from the bowling alley and the Flying Adventure Park. They're owned by the same couple. They run as two businesses. They're right there together. So maybe for part of the day, putting in some of those fun activities for the kids to do, and they can maybe split between the two buildings, and we can make that happen. So still a work in progress, dangling things here and there, waiting for people to respond to me. Sounds like we have buses. We'll have to obviously get that all organized the end of this week or early next week so we can roll that out. Parents get permission slips, everybody on board for that. So it'll be busy, it'll be fun. We're hoping it'll be a fun day. Hopefully that's all gonna fall in place. I feel better after an hour ago than I did at noon. So I feel like some things are starting to fall into place for us. A lot of things we're having trouble with is just limiting. I was so excited to call Montana Wild and they just adopted 2 days ago, only 10 people in their building at a time because COVID is spiking so bad. So that she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. We really want you to come, but we can't. So we're running into a little bit of that. It's making it a little challenging, but we'll get there. I think we're gonna get it figured out. Upcoming activities, as Brad said, the semester ends on Friday, and obviously the end of quarter 2 as well. We'll start the new semester next Tuesday. We don't have school on Monday. We have our big PIR day. I'm sure Susie's going to talk about that. Next, the 18th through the 20th, the Skills USA has their big leadership conference. Clint's taking a group of kids over to Billings for that, so that's exciting. Speech and drama divisionals is in Manhattan on the 22nd. So we're starting to cruise into our postseason here with some of our activities, which is crazy because it feels like it was just November, and here we are cruising through January. The speech and drama state is at Huntley, and that's the 28th through the 29th. So their season will end the end of January. And then we'll start the postseason for wrestling the 4th through the 5th of February. They will be over in beautiful Butte, Montana at divisional wrestling over there. So, and then from there, we know it'll just roll. It'll roll in February for basketball postseasons and all of those. So busy time.
And I'm excited. I'll be going to my first conference. Sherry's taking me to it.
Oh, that's right.
End of January. So
At the Joint Montana Principals Conference is in Bozeman on the 23rd through the 25th. So Christine and I are going to go to that. Yeah, it'll be great.
I'm excited for that.
It's a good professional development conference. So maybe we'll find out some answers to all of these questions we have about what we need to do. I'm helpful. Some ideas.
Very good. Any questions for Sherry? Okay. Mrs. Hedlund, back to you. We can't hear you.
That question you? Go ahead.
Muted. Thank you.
There you go.
All right.
Susie muted herself.
Okay. Quiet is one thing I'm not usually. So anyways, to piggyback off of Sherry, I have a regional superintendent's meeting. Our first in-person one was last month, and I wasn't able to join because we had our OPI nutrition evaluation or audit, whatever you want to call it, that day, which of course Vicki and Christina and everyone, Brad and everyone helped out and jumped in and went wonderfully. We didn't have any big issues with that. So I didn't attend last month. So I was looking forward to next week if things are going well. Going to that is going to be held in Livingston on the 19th. And I haven't been to one of those in a long time. They haven't been in person, so that would be nice. So that would be next Wednesday. And that's on my list. Next week will be a busy week. We have the Professional Development Day on Monday, the 17th. And the plan is to have Strive, as I mentioned earlier, the literacy consultants come in to work with K-5 staff on literacy. There's quite a few different topics they're going to cover. One is selecting a curriculum. So just some expert ideas on things to think about and consider when you're selecting a curriculum. Also, if there's any other curriculums that we've heard about from other schools or that staff are interested in that we haven't ordered samples for yet, or even questions about the ones that they're currently looking at. A lot of them have worked in Colorado and Washington and all over the state of Montana with various curriculums, so they can bring some perspective for us. So they're going to talk about that. They're also going to talk about differentiation, which is something that our staff has said that they would like some professional development on, especially because of COVID and having students with all levels of needs and abilities in their classroom while they teach a lesson to the class. That professional development will really help them to understand and kind of give them a toolbox for how to meet the needs and scaffold lesson plans or even projects so that all students can be engaged and be learning, and so things aren't going over their heads or students aren't getting bored, but they can all be learning together and meeting everybody's needs. So differentiation was one of the things they're going to cover. And then there was one more, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I'll think of it, but yeah, it'll be a good day, a good opportunity. Quite a few different components that Strive will cover and their experts will go over with the staff. So glad to have that. I was really lucky that they had the day open, and I used to work with one of them. Like I said, they're able to get them for that day. Also really excited to have Elizabeth Kalava. She did a fantastic fall law conference for school administrators, for school superintendents that I went to. And I always enjoy that. I think it's really important to stay up on the case law, and she does a great job of running through the really important decisions that have been made in Montana, but also nationally. There's always interesting stuff out of Hawaii, of course, and some of those other states, but things that we really need to be aware of. So I had some great takeaways from that conference when I went, and found that certain parts of it and components of it would be really great for the staff to hear, and want to provide them that opportunity to learn a little bit about current special ed law and some different changes that have come out of legislation over the last couple sessions. So 6th through 12th grade staff we have to take care of, and everyone will also be anxious to have a little bit of time to work on their grades because we'll be at semester as well. So that's the plan for the 17th. We will use that professional development money that I talked about for doing, at-home trainings within ESSER to to pay for them to come in and work with staff. On the 18th, I'm excited to participate in my first STEAM night at Townsend School District, and I know Christina's been working hard on that, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. I did invite the Stoke board when I was there the other night, by the way. So there'll be hopefully some other artists and folks coming for that. That'll be exciting. And then a couple of other updates. Preschool. So in the past, we had a special ed preschool program on Fridays, from what I understand. Just within house, had the preschoolers that needed come in and get service. So we do have 3 preschoolers that have been identified for next year that we need to start serving. So I have been working with Mariah Pace at the Prickly Pear Cooperative, and Amanda Smucker, our school psychologist, is a rock star. So she's done a really great job of working with those families and identifying those students' needs. And so Christina and I and all of us are starting those conversations so we can start getting those kids services. And then looking at our funding stream and deciding if we want to do something similar to what was done before or contract out to one of our preschools that's certified to provide those services in the community, or how we want to move forward with that. So just something to have on your radar. And then we have, I had a great experience at the Stoke board meeting that I went to. I wasn't sure if I should bring this up earlier when they were there or not. They probably would have liked to have been part of the conversation, but it was really exciting to hear from a local artist that we have, Teddy Lewis, and he did ceramics at the Archie Bray for many years. He's a well-known potter, and he's very humble and but I think he's very well known for his art and his ceramics. But he also ties it with mental health and has used ceramics as a kind of and other mediums of art as an outlet for therapy and also mental addiction and counseling. So he's just a really incredible guy, and I enjoyed meeting him, and his passion for art and how it can help in the healing process for people is really neat. So he reached out and wanted to see if he could do some ceramics at the school. And so of course went straight to Mr. Bartlett, and he was and Sherry, and we all talked about it. And Mr. Bartlett was really excited about it. And he is also an alum of the Archie Bray. So he was very excited. Teddy was able to get 250 pounds of clay donated. And he's done a lot of work in Helena and with the community there, and just has been excited to bring it to Townsend. So they're going to do a high school class, kind of piggybacks off what we were talking earlier. They're going to do a high school class with approximately 12 students in the evenings. He wanted to do like 3 hours a night, and we told him that might be a little much. So he's really into it. So he's going to try like 4 to 6 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, something like that, starting in the next month. And he's going to work with Mr. Bartlett and some of the staff to kind of identify those students, because it's going to be a really incredible opportunity for those students to work with a really great artist and actually throw clay. Some of them have done some of that at that level with Mr. Bartlett, but not all students are ready for that intensive level of art. So that'll be pretty cool. So they're going to do that for the first round. And then for the second round, they're thinking about doing later in the spring, early summer, doing a adult course. So really excited to have him and his wisdom, and him and John and John from Stoke and Jeremy were having conversation, and I left to go deal with the maintenance issue and meeting, and I was like, all right, I know Jeremy's got to get going home and everything. And thanks, you guys. And thought we were all wrapped up. And I went back in there like 2 hours later, like 8 at night, and they were drawing all over the whiteboards. They were very excited and have all kinds of ideas. And Stoke wants to help purchase some additional materials that Jeremy could use for his room that him and Teddy would share, for example. So just really great. Another example of partnership with them. And our school definitely will benefit from it because we'll get to use quite a bit of that clay and yeah, it'll just be really neat. So it was really fun to see them both get so excited together about these opportunities. So wanted to share that with you guys. And I think I'm going to try to steal one of those spots, or maybe I could be a helper or something. It was really exciting. Since I've done coaching basketball, I got to find something else, to do my evenings. But anyway, COVID just update. Thank you for sharing the current stats of our county, Christina. Unfortunately, it sounds like our neighboring districts are starting to get hit hard again. I talked to a couple of colleagues yesterday that are super overwhelmed and kind of having that second wave of what we had this fall. So definitely could be challenging. I know we talked about this in our team admin meeting on Monday, and Brad had some really good points. But we will continue to be cautious and see how we fare. It from what they said with Omni is just so much more contagious even than the last strain we saw, and it doesn't seem to last as long. If you're lucky, that's what they're saying. But another challenge that the schools are seeing is even with the testing, they're testing and it's within that, window that you're allowed, it's negative. And then people are still showing signs of symptoms or things like that. And they're testing again and they're positive. So they're having challenges with at the initial tests being negative, and then people, like testing close contacts and they're being negative and then ending up positive, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of districts struggling and even some starting to close around us. So just kind of, I guess there's no way to prepare for it, but to keep doing what we're doing and keep the high level of cleaning and the testing and the precautions in place. I think definitely like we're doing in the elementary school with keeping those kids separate as we can for now. And hopefully we can fare well through this upcoming wave. But that's all I have for today. So.
Very good. The only thing I will add for the board members is I'm kind of a month behind, but we will do the superintendent evaluation next month. So we will get those sent out to everybody in the next couple of weeks so they can get them filled out and back and compiled. Should have done it in January. We also visited about changing the format because I don't think anybody's super excited about the one we have. But in order to do that, we have to approve it. So it's kind of late in the game to do it now because that would kick us clean into March by the time we got that done. But that is something I would like to look at, is changing our evaluation form to make it more pertinent to what we're doing. But anyway.
So make notes as we're filling it.
But we will fill out the one we have been using because it's already approved. We don't have to change anything. So we will make sure we do that in the February meeting. And then hopefully we'll proceed from there into the negotiations and whatnot, so we keep all those things on track and get them moved up a little earlier in the year than what we've been the last couple of times. I think that was all I had.
Okay, I was just going to add something just really quickly. I don't mean to belabor anything, but regarding around the conversation that we had around motivation, around let's see, where are we at? Chronic absenteeism and so on and so forth. I just wanted to share, a couple of years ago, I was teaching a human performance technology course, and we had a guest speaker, and the guy's name was Roger Addison. And he is a performance consultant. And and he's nationally recognized performance consultant. And he goes into companies, he goes into schools, and he looks for reasons that people are performing poorly, whether that be students, whether that be people being trained, whoever it is. What are the reasons people what are the reasons that people perform poorly? And I just wanted to share, because I'm a big motivation person, is that his statement was simply the most important factor for success in any way, in any place, in any location, is simply motivation, simply motivating people. Because even if the curriculum sucks, and we've seen places where curriculum has sucked before, if students are motivated, if trainees are motivated, if the training curriculum, and this could be corporate, this could be higher ed, this could be K12, if the curriculum even is poor curriculum, as long as those trainees, as long as those students, as long as those learners are motivated, they'll probably get something out of it and perform. And that's a single single takeaway from the owner of a nationally recognized performance consulting company. So just wanted to share that with you. It's a big deal.
Yeah. But motivation takes a lot of form. I mean, there's intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation, there's there's carrot or stick. You know,
I'm not so much sure about the stick part, but.
Well, I am, but if a kid, if you teach at the college level, what do you do if a kid's gone, didn't do a thing, and it's grading time, and goes, hey man, what can I do to pass? You gotta make sense, You
gotta make a call. And I tell you what,
I'll tell you, the motivation was, you're gonna fail if you don't do it.
No.
That motivated me to get through college.
No, for the most part, in my experience, it's not that. It's not that. It's saying, this is really cool stuff. You can learn this and you can apply this, and this is how you can apply this. And that motivates a student to at least in most situations, in most cases, to say, I may not be really excited about this, but I see what you mean, and I'm gonna try. And those that you lose, those that you can't motivate in that way, they're gone. So it's that's in my experience. And I end up with some that are just gone. You do. Most of them a person saves, at least by a C-. And so it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I'm just sharing. And that can be, and I'm going to share one more thing. That could be traditional students. And I've seen a ton of 40 and 50-year-old students who are working on their second master's degree that needs that same kind of motivation. So it's not just, a certain age group. It's more of I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but it can be anybody that needs to be motivated, or that can be motivated and can perform. Anybody can perform. That's my 2 cents worth. That's all. I'm done.
With effort.
Well, they gotta have effort.
Gotta be some effort there.
But they have to, you have to put in.
Gotta be some effort. You can't do anything without effort. Plain and simple, whether you're motivated or not. You don't put in effort, you're not gonna accomplish anything.
But you have to be motivated in order to put in the effort. And you have to have that person help motivate you. I don't know how many hours I spent on Zoom last semester with a student out of, it's a Monsanto type of company that was developing training for hazardous materials training for the company. And it took hours and hours and hours to motivate that person to do that. And I know there's just times that as a teacher, you just put in the time. It's just the way it is. That's what you sign up for. And that student succeeded incredibly well, but wasn't going to at the beginning. I mean, was cussing and all kinds of stuff. Things you wouldn't necessarily say to a professor. Said, okay, calm down. We'll figure it out. We'll get there. So anyway, that's my take on motivation and the importance around that. And then it's backed up by performance consultants. They make a lot more money than I do. So
That's what you're gonna move into, right?
Yeah, they make some cash. They do. That's my 2 cents worth, guys.
Meeting
I'm done.
adjourned.
Have a great night. Thanks, you guys.
Take care, Susie.